Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, brothers and sisters. Jazakallah khair for waking up early this morning to listen to me. Most of you will be driving to work. I know certainly Naila is driving to work. She's on her way very far away from Leicester, near enough Coventry, Birmingham. So she'll be on the motorway now and she will lose a signal over there very shortly, right? And I've got a message in already saying that, why are you 1 minute late? This is how strict our listeners are. If you're a little bit late, they kind of take your head off, as they say. Well, I'm not going to take my head off right now. I'm going to take my hat off because there's many listeners out there that really don't like this hat. So I'm going to take it off. And of course, you know, you got to keep your head warm. Your health is your wealth. Is that right? My producer gives me a big thumbs up there today. His office is in complete darkness. I can't see him in there because he's not put his lights on, and he's now invested in a one-way mirror. So he can see me. I can barely see him if the light's off. And that's how it goes. So here, we got lights on. Yes, he's put the light on now. Okay, so this morning, Monday morning, the weather is a little bit better. It's I think we're out of the rain now, and we are having some little bit of sunshine, which is good. Rain is also good. It's a barakah. You know, when it rains like that and you make a dua, it's indeed a blessing. So all the brothers and sisters at the weekend, Saturdays and Sundays, working very hard here, raising money for charities. Jazakallah khair to everybody who has donated. You could be living here for the rest of your life and you will never have donated enough, right? We do this not only during Ramadan, we need to keep this as part of our daily lives, to donate, to give sadaqah, to give zakat, to keep giving. Be a giver. Allah loves those who give. It's not what you are going to take with you. You don't want to be the richest man or woman in the Qabristan. That means graveyard. For those of you who don't know, you don't want to be the richest man there because all your wealth is going to be left behind here. All the buildings that you amass, all the bricks and mortar, everything's going to be left here behind. So brothers and sisters, it's good to give. Be a giver, not a taker. So those of you who are at work already, sitting down on your desk, watching somebody else have a cup of tea, as they do in the mornings, you know, the typical time wasters who will walk in and they can't start their day until they've had a cup of tea. And obviously we have rules and regulations on that as to the amount of time you waste going up and down the kitchen, putting the kettle on, making a tea. Some of the smart bosses have invested in those little bean to cup machines where you don't have to walk far. You just go as you wish, grab yourself a coffee and you sit back on your desk. So if you can cut down the journey, that will save some cost in the long run, and so on. So there are many ideas to be productive at work. All of you who are working right now are smiling away and laughing at some of my brilliant ideas which I'm putting forward to you, but that's how it goes. Always there are roadblockers out there. When you put an idea out, they come and they block your way. So if you've got any better ideas, you better let me have them. So yesterday we had young Fatima. She was a very good future presenter, 13 or 10 years old, right? She came and she had some good photographs taken here. I think they're on our website already. And she was 10 years old and spoke very well. MashaAllah, Fatima, Jazakallah khair to your mom and dad who brought you over into the studio and came to collect the special brew voucher. So no doubt after Ramadan or after iftar one of these days, she will pop in to brew and they'll look after her over there very well. So that was a very good meeting we had yesterday. And I always urge everyone every morning not to forget my brother Abdul Hamid, to make du'as for him, for his speedy recovery. This weekend I myself was not in the best of health, but I'd like someone to let me know how Abdul Hamid is doing because we haven't heard from him from his mother to inform us what's been going on. We have a message here from Arif. Arif is one of the top guys in Leicester, a true asset in the community, always working hard, Arif is, isn't it? Arif, how are you this morning? Are you as lively as I am right now? Salams everyone, blessings this way please. Word weaver Heather. Heather, how are you this morning? Good of you to connect with us this morning, so you better start sharing with all the people that you know on your Facebook and on your WhatsApp database so that they can also listen in. So especially Arif, he has a huge database, Arif, a huge database. And don't keep it to yourself. Start sharing and start caring. Well, we're in the second week now of Ramadan, and everybody is sort of getting into it now, and it does get easier. And before you know it, you're going to say, huh? What happened to Ramadan? It's come and gone. And that's what happens, each year is like that. You get into it, and you sort of lazy in the first week. But now we get into the second week, and this week our theme is going to continue to be mad. Arif, mad, make a difference. And Arif is making a difference every day out there, and that's what I want all of you to do, is learn to make a difference. That's what we have to do. Now, going forward, we need to sort of always remember one thing: your health is your wealth. So this week, our theme throughout the week is going to be all related to health matters. If you recall, yesterday, Dr. Shahid Latif, he talked to us about the stresses, the mental health issues, and how to identify somebody who is going through mental health. And it was a very, very interactive program, an issue that everybody relates with. So we're going to tell you more about that later on in the program. But right now, I want you to know that you are listening to Ramadan Special on EAVA 102.5 FM. My producer likes me to change that jingle all of the time. When I say it, he starts giving me those hand signals from the screen and tells me, he's got this little hand signal where he says, change it. I think he twists his hand like that, like one of those Bhangra light bulb moments. And he says, change the signal the way you say it. Something very entertaining for him when I say it in a different way. In fact, I'm not surprised if he starts telling me to say that in different languages, because I always tell him that, we need to learn languages, and he will turn around and says, well, why don't you start learning them? Don't be telling us to learn them all the time. You learn them. I said, look, I already know 7 languages. How many more do you want me to learn? Ahmed, you are a very, very keen observer, and I know Ahmed is a passionate footballer, right? He's trying to work out the stats as to how 2 English teams, Tottenham and another English team, I'm going to let Ahmed tell me which one that is made it to the European final. And not on top of that, you had another team is in the Europe Cup. There's a Europa Cup and there's a European Cup. For those of you who don't know any other cup but a teacup, you got to learn about these things. So this is history in the making. Ahmed, call in and tell us about this history in the making, and we can tell our listeners also who are not so much into footy, and we can educate them a little bit. We have our normal morning avid listeners. You need to share with all your database. Ahmed has a database of about 10,000 people that he knows. That's just on his WhatsApp. He belongs to many, many groups. And me, I belong to about 3-4 groups, and I'm trying to get rid of one of them. And this is difficult to manage all these groups. You be on the WhatsApp all day and all night, just looking at everybody out there. So this is, Arif has given us a message saying that he's even more livelier than I am. He's better to come into the studio and sit in with me. So we're going to discuss with you today, later on in the program, my dear, learned, esteemed colleague, Dr. Salim Khan is going to join us today. Inshallah, I hope he is on his way, battling through the traffic. Of course, he's a man of health, so he'll not be driving here. He'll not be cycling here. He will be coming here on his feet. He'll be walking here. So Mamdu Salu Jalo, good morning to you. This is a good listener. He always is tuning in the mornings, and I'm very interactively talking to him every day in the mornings. And I missed him on Saturday and Sunday, but today, how are you? And tell us how it is in your country right now. And we have Siraj joining us as well. And of course, connect us with all your database immediately. So we're talking about Dr. Salim Khan. He's going to join us very shortly, inshallah. And we're going to be discussing about health matters, alternative medicine, and all these things are so relevant in today's world that we live in. You only have to open your tap water and just find ways and means to collect all the lime scale in it, and this is where the issue starts. Every day we drink water in abundance, and you don't know what you're drinking. So that's why so many water bottles, mineral bottles are sold, and of course they bring along with them a pile of lot of junk and waste and plastic waste and all sorts of waste that comes along in your bin. In fact, go and check the green bag in your kitchen and find out, look at it and say, where does this all go? Where does it all go? Because I'd like to know where it goes. So if you guys, in fact, we had a program and we were told again that we should emphasize more on being less wasteful. So during this month of Ramadan, when everybody is eating in abundance, always be mindful that you don't waste food when people out there are trying to not even have any food. The poverty index in this country, I want all of you to start looking at that not even having to go out of England, there's people here who are extremely poor. Somebody sent me a question that how many countries are there for in 1945, how many countries were there in the world? In the morning, giving me history questions like that is unbelievable. You can't do that to me first thing in the morning. This is a difficult one, but I'm going to take a guess. It's about 100 or 150, something like that. A little bit of a good spread there. So my producer will check that out and let me know. There's about 150 countries in 1945. Now, of course, this listener will tell me what the relevance is for that, and we'll see what is the relevance of that question. So no doubt, and he's replied back already saying that I'm going to tell you later on. So there's a little bit of a teaser for everybody. How many countries there were in 1945, right? So my producers put that up. This is exactly what I don't talk about on Monday mornings, but somebody started me off now and charging my battery up and getting my Zoogle going now in my head. So I become interactive in the world of intelligence, right? This is a population, how many countries there were, and I don't know how many countries there were. I'm looking at the answer. I would say it's about 150. If you know the answer, do share with me. A little bit of help will not go amiss, won't go amiss at all. And here you're now listening to me on Ramadan special EAVA 102.5 FM. So you can talk to us on 0116 212 9324. So somebody's sent me a message already saying that, can you say that in Gujarati? So today in the world, the question was not how many countries there are today in the world, how many countries are there in 1945? That is what the question was. You can text us on 07450 925 084. So somebody has just brought it to my attention that the lead that charges the phone has gone on a walkabout. Is that correct? Yeah, the lead has gone on a walkabout, which means that Brother Muhammad has to bring one with him. Otherwise, we'll be out of text today. We'll have no lead to charge. Salams, ZED, hope you are good. Naeem Briscoe, I was listening to you attentively yesterday. I think you should have been sat in the chair here talking about that mental health issues that we were discussing with Dr. Shahid Latif. and you should really, you and your team should get connected with him, as you all know that he is a premier, foremost expert in the world of mental health. Of course, if people keep asking me these questions, difficult ones in the morning, on a Monday morning, I think I'm going to go to mental as well, because these are difficult questions first thing in the morning. Here's the answer anyway. In 1945, there were 14 states which were not recognized as sovereign by majority of countries. What kind of answer are you giving me? Just give me a street layman's answer so I can tell people the correct number of countries was 100 and 100 and what? How many countries did we have in 1945? So Q&A is not what I like to do Monday mornings. Please, all of you listening out there, right? Putting me in a spot first thing Monday morning. Is that a right thing to do to your most loved presenter on the Radio Ramadan FM special? No, it's not at all. It was the best show up to date, the health show. Of course, everything to do with health has got to be the best, because we need to always educate each other on health and wealth. All matters of health and wealth have got to be the best, because if we don't have the health, we're not going to have the wealth, Brother Naeem. Is that true? Of course it's true. And if any of you share that sentiment, then do ring me and talk to me. You're listening to us on Ramadan Special EAVA FM 102.5 FM. We are 207 Evington Road. Somebody's just asked a question on my text here. Where exactly are you based? We're on 207 Evington Road, next to a shop and next to another shop and next to a post office. That's where we are. My producer is having a laugh again. So our telephone number here is 0116 212 9324, and our text is 07 450 925 084. So brothers, if you're listening out there, then do give us a call. 72 countries, somebody's answered back that there were 72 countries in 1945. Of course, I will disagree with that, because I've said the figure is not 72. Somebody's given us a wrong answer. I've got to say it's got to be between 100 to 150. That is the correct answer. A Monday morning teaser for all of you. So if you can help out here a little bit, it would be very good of you to do that. Of course, don't try to do that while you're driving. When you're at your office, have a little sneak on your computer while your boss is not looking. Of course, be careful, because he'll have access to your network and he'll be watching you if you are looking at sites concerning population. Of course, you can tell him that it's all a matter of HR and you are doing some research on that, and you'll be okay. So, of course, you will have, of course, Wikipedia to look at, because at the moment I'm just sort of looking for Wikipedia in my head, and it's not working very well. And you've got also Google to look at, and people are giving me all different answers from the top of their heads. Some of the answers I'm not even going to tell you, because they're way off course, absolutely way off course. So if you have also some good ideas and some good programs that you enjoyed, do let us know what you liked and what you did not like. It's very important to know, and it keeps us all on our toes. Abdul Ghaffar has joined in. Abdul Ghaffar, he knows exactly how many countries there were in the world in 1945. He's going to tell us, because he's always hot on these educational teasers. We have 14 minutes to go. My producer tells me, keeps us in check all the time. So you're listening to ZED on the Drive Time Show, Ramadan Special on EAVA 102.5 FM. So give us a call on 0116 212 9324. So after the first break today, we're going to have a guest, Dr. Salim Khan. He's going to join us, and as most of you probably know, Dr. Salim Khan is a premier most expert in matters of alternative medicine. He is a person that we sort of very, very well liked in the city of Leicester. Hamza Bodania is on course. He's telling me, Salam Zed, how do you turn up so fresh and lively? What's the secret? Hamza, you need to come and sit here in this chair, and you will find out this is a presenter's chair which charges your battery and makes you good, fresh, lively. If you want to do that, come and have a go. I think we should all have a go at everything. So we have Dr. Slim Khan has joined me in the studio. I welcome Dr. Slim Khan. Assalamu alaikum, my dear brother. Of course, Dr. Slim Khan, he's going to be told about the rules of the studio, which is 32 millimeters away from the mic. And Dr. Slim Khan, have you brought your tape measure with you to ensure that you're at 32 millimeters?
Inshallah, I'll be guided by your colleagues here.
Yeah, okay, great. So there's my colleague here is fixing his mic right now. And, we like to keep you all interactively involved in the studio to keep it live. And, as it's happening, none of you need to worry that, there's some act going on here in the studio. Everything happens here, and you need to be kept informed. That's what an interactive audience is all about. Is that right, Hamza? Hamza is smiling, and I can just feel him nodding. So sometimes people, they say to me, "You're on radio, you're not on TV." I said, "No, we're on the Facebook. That's like being on TV." So that's how it goes here. So, Dr. Slim, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. And how are you this morning? How was your Ramadan progressing? We're almost at day 8 now.
Alhamdulillah, my Ramadan is progressing very well.
I see. I feel like you've just come away from some traveling.
Yes, I have, yes. I was in Turkey for a week. There was a big international conference on traditional and complementary medicine organized by the Turkish presidency under the Ministry of Health, looking at how complementary and traditional medicine can really help to deal with some of the big chronic diseases of our age. So I was fortunate to be participating in that.
Of course, these diseases are not getting lesser, they are increasing every day. And when you read in the press that over 1 million species are going to be extinct in the next coming years, and all that has an impact on human health, doesn't it?
Well, indeed, yes. I mean, the situation has become an emergency.
And every day in our daily lives, we sometimes don't appreciate the value of prevention. And we talk about the second phase of Ramadan will start after 10 days. The value of our health is all connected to the food that we eat and the consumption that we go through in our lives. And how we all have to educate each other for better living, better eating, and understand the value of health just simply from drinking water which is pure. So you, in your field of work, walking through the door in your surgery are people with so many different ailments that even you sometimes must be wondering what is going on over the last 30 years, what you have seen to what you see today. What are the, like today we have such a huge spike in mental health. It's a subject that nobody talks about, nothing but that, and depression and stress. And how is all that related to well-being?
Well, Mr. Sheikh, obviously you are a very informed person, mashallah, and you travel the world and you do a lot of good work right across the world. The reality is really that our modern lifestyle has almost become a curse now. Yeah? And the evidence is so much that even our children across Europe in particular, 14-year-old and 12-year-old and 10-year-old children, are so clear about this madness of deterioration of our environment right across the world, that they are coming out each Friday, leaving their classes and coming out to protest in the streets of Britain, Europe, and saying to the leaders and saying to the policymakers and influence and industry that, look, enough is enough. You need to change the course of this madness of perpetual growth of industrialization and all the rubbish that goes with it. So this shows really how serious the problem is, that our children are forced to leave their classes to pay attention to this ecological emergency. But what's fascinating is that how little the mainstream media focuses on this issue, which is really very much related to health and well-being. And if I may say so, Sheikh Saab, many of our communities are oblivious to this impeding disaster. And we're still trying to pursue a junk lifestyle, and all that entails. And yet, if we go back to our earlier periods of our lives of the Prophet ﷺ and the blessed companions, I mean, they lived a lifestyle and encouraged a lifestyle which was simple and healthy. But we somehow think that really they were not able to afford eating meat, for example, every day, or the industrial chicken every day. God forbid, had they been here today, they would have eaten chicken and meat and fried and, all the junk that we promote. So I think it's about time that we seriously did some kind of audit of where we are, how we're living on a daily basis, and particularly this blessed month of Ramadan. You know yourself that how much consumption of junk food goes up during this month. So it's a time for us to reflect and to make some clear changes in our own lifestyle to help to deal with this situation.
Of course, Dr. Saleem, accounting is the only profession practiced on earth and in heaven also. So those of you who haven't worked that out, you got to be a businessman and you'll work that out. The accounting issue for all your accounts and actions on earth, they have a equal and opposite effect upon you, don't they?
Yes, please elaborate as a successful businessman for those of us who are not so clear about this area. So you like to say a little more on that?
Well, you see, if you look at the balance sheet of your life, right, look at your life, it's like a balance sheet, isn't it? From when you're born to when you leave this dunya, right? When you're born, that is your opening stock, right? This is, I'm getting into my accounting mode now. And throughout your life is what you need to do is do good actions to create good credits for yourself, right? For your dunya and also for your deen. And it's all related to the food that you mentioned earlier on, the consumption of red meat, the consumption of poultry. And a real good shocker for you if you were listening in on Friday on the Halal Food Program, where we were told that 26% of the red meat consumed in England is by Muslims. And yet we are only 5% of the population. And 40% of the industrialized chicken that we have in England is consumed by the Muslims also. So we are meat and poultry eaters. It's like you said earlier on, in the times of the Prophet, they were not abundantly eating meat. Their diets were based around vegetables more than they were on meat.
Well, Sheikh Saab, you know yourself that, Alhamdulillah, I publicly uh, advocate a semi vegetarian lifestyle. And I certainly don't use industrial chicken and only eat meat occasionally. Because the devastation on the environment is one side, but really the harm to human health and well-being is so clear from eating this industrial chicken and excessive meat and all the associated products with that. So I think, it's fascinating, isn't it? And also you'll know yourself that really meat is an addictive item. So if an individual eats meat, let's say for about 3 days consecutively, he or she is likely to become addict of meat. So it's important that we really eat very little meat.
So what you're saying, after 3 days it becomes a habit, and then that habit will become your addiction, and then that addiction will become your liability. Right? So everything gonna come back to assets and liabilities, right? So when you're consuming meat and you have that urge to say, right, I'm gonna go down that shop and purchase me some more processed food, and this is where we're all heading today, health and well-being. Throughout the week we're going to have different programs this week discussing this matter, and especially in this month of Ramadan, where it's very important for us to understand the value of well-being. And of course, imagine the impact on the health service of this country when all of these, what percentage of problems you think would be related to food?
Oh, well, look, it's not about me really. People who are much more learned and well informed than myself have a consensus now that 70 to 80% of modern diseases, such as obesity, diabetes, heart diseases, strokes, and many other what they call lifestyle diseases or non-communicable diseases, are really a direct result of individual and community lifestyle. In fact, they're called lifestyle diseases. And 70 to 80% of burden of the disease burden is now these diseases. And it's a very clear relationship from different disciplines in the healthcare services that really this is the case.
We're going to have a little break now and get back to you straight after. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters. We are back. We are back here to tell you more about College of Medicine and Healing Arts. Today I feel like a little bit of a professor. Of course, somebody dropped that question on me this morning about how many countries there were in 1945. I'm sure that this is like a bit of a battery charger for me, and I still haven't found out the correct answer because the various different avenues. My producer today, even he's not lively this morning. Monday, normally he is very fast on that keyboard and he finds out. But this is Dr. Slim. Nowadays, if you want an answer, what do? You go to Google. What do you do when you need to learn something?
Well, it depends on the.
Where's your knowledge bank?
It depends on the nature of the question. Obviously, for some questions, Uncle Google is fine.
Yeah.
But for other questions, I go to two sources really. I go to reliable classical sources of books and literature, and of course, I go back to people like yourselves in specialist fields who I seek guidance and information from. But yes, Google has a place, of course.
Of course, right now an epidemic of chronic modern style diseases threaten our body, mind, relationships and spirit, right? Now often when a lot of these youngsters I meet, they talk about mental health, and of course body, mind, spirit is all related to some of the causes of mental health, aren't they?
Indeed, yes, they are.
And these are issues. Do you come across these in your particular clinic?
Yes, Sheikh Saab, as you know, I'm in practice for nearly 41 years, and I actually have thousands of patients. And over the 40 years plus, I've seen a definite increase in mental illness and emotional illness, and of course, spiritual diseases. And it's fascinating how our young people, how much actually they have in terms of facilities and resources, and yet they seem to be emotionally and mentally less, less capable of dealing with problems of today's lifestyle. And I can't seem to understand that my generation, at least, I know you're much more younger, my generation people really did not have so much material resources, and yet we're much better able to cope with everyday stresses. So yes, the mental illness and the emotional illnesses are increasing. And what's other very fascinating is really I noticed that the younger the people are, generally speaking, the more addictions they have.
So addictions are on the increase, are they?
Indeed, addictions are on the increase.
So look at we talk about this on the radio all the time. We call it the MRT therapy. Are you familiar with MRT therapy?
Just remind me what that is.
Here at the radio, we also develop our own techniques of educating the people of Leicester and the people all over the world, all 7.8 billion of them. MRT therapies, we call that mirror reflection therapy. Look in the mirror and see the problem and fix it. So this is what we are always encouraging people to do, is that in this month of Ramadan is a time for reflection, isn't it?
Indeed. Not only in the mirror, but the internal mirror.
Of course, of our body, mind, soul and our spirit, right? And this is very important. So learning about your health and well-being has got to be one of your biggest assets in life.
Indeed, the thing is that whether we want to practice our deen or whether we want to make a contribution to our family or a community, no matter which field we wish to go into, the first kind of condition or the requirement is that we need to have good health, positive health. So health is the first requirement for anything we want to do and achieve. The fact that you are here, mashallah, this morning, facilitating this opportunity for your listeners and viewers, and you kindly invited me to spend an hour with yourself and your colleagues here. It all depends on health. If you are not healthy enough to be taking charge of this show, and if I wasn't blessed with good health, we wouldn't be able to share any of this.
Of course, our blessings are in abundance. When we wake up in the morning, the first thing we do is we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us that one more day to go out there and do some good. And if our body, mind, health and spirits is not good, then we're not going to be able to do that, are we?
Indeed.
So everything comes as a whole package. Our modern lifestyle today is filled with epidemics of different ailments, and you are coming across them every day, as you mentioned.
Indeed, yes.
So what is the fix for this then,
Well, look, the fix for this is taking personal responsibility to value and appreciate that health is important. That's the first thing. The second thing really is that, like any other subject, we have to then educate and train ourselves to understand what is health and how can we maintain it, and how can we prevent diseases. And you yourself know, for example, let's go back to the prophetic times. You'll know very well that when the Prophet ﷺ came, the condition of Arabia at that time was atrocious. So bad was the mental and the ethical situation that the people at that time actually used to bury their daughters alive. Now, a society where fathers would bury their own infant female child. I mean, have you ever thought, Sheikh Saab, how wretched the spiritual and the emotional and the mental situation of a society would be, that where a man goes and digs in the sand and buries his newborn infant? Now we need to think about that, and we need to learn from it, that in our societies today there are groups and movements which are actually saying that to bring a child into the world is cruelty. We are reverting back to the old Jahiliyyah in some of our thinking and some of our behaviors. Did you know there is apparently a case now in Indian judiciary where an Indian man has claimed that it is cruelty by his parents to bring him into this world? Now, you begin to see how the old patterns of ignorance are emerging. Now, let's go back to the society where the Prophet ﷺ came. So how did he transform that ignorant Jahiliyyah-based society from killing their own infant babies, females, to valuing the birth of a female child to such an extent that it became an occasion for celebration? Now this is something, but did you also know, Sheikh Saab, that the old name of Medina was in Arabic called Yathrib, which actually means and meant a place of disease and sickness. So when the Prophet ﷺ and his companions were forced to migrate from Mecca to Medina, when they went to Medina, many of them became ill. The Prophet ﷺ prayed to Allah to make that place blessed and healthy. Now, this shows that you had the final messenger of God coming to a people who were the most wretched of that time. He was sent to a city which actually was known for its pestilence and its diseases, which we know today as Medina al-Munawwara. Look at this, what heritage we have, and where have we reached today? Yeah? How many of our scholars, how many of our leaders, how many of our activists actually know this and take these ideas and this learning and say, okay, what does it mean for me today in my personal life? What does it mean for my community and organization? And please forgive me if I am, if I sound a bit over the top. But you look at many of our community organizations doing wonderful work, but what are they selling? They're selling junk foods during Ramadan, cheap stuff, promoting in different places. Yeah? Nothing but sugar, which is well known by any intelligent person that actually harms the health, and selling denatured industrial animal products and these chemical fizz and Coke and Pepsis. You go to the iftar parties, Allah forgive us, and what do we see? We see trash after trash after trash. I hope that under your leadership and guidance for the team, we don't see this rubbish during the iftar times.
Well, of course, at the city retreat, we are very, very putting the emphasis on educating people to eat healthy.
Yeah.
Your wealth is your health.
Yeah.
Can you say that?
Yeah.
Your wealth is your health?
I think it's health is wealth, isn't it?
We
I
had
think it's the other way around.
another guest joined us in the studio,
Assalamu alaikum.
and Mariam, and she's going to also ask some questions here. So that was a lot of good information, brothers and sisters, all of you. Shahid has joined us, Ayub Raja, and a lot of very good nasiya. Nasiya means advice, and for all of us to learn. And of course, some of the things that, all of the things that Brother Salim Khan has said are going to be stuck in my head forever. I'm very, very responsive to that, and I think you should all be likewise take heed of what he has just said about the value that we have to place on what we eat. And again, if you were in a business, for example, and somebody told you that, look, if you do this, you'll make this profit, you'll run to do it, right? Here, for free, you're getting advice which is an asset for you, and if you don't take it, then you're going to be at a loss, because we bring it back here in the dunya that we run after what we think will make us a profit, and when we are told something good for us, we don't follow because we are addicted. Our habits have become our addictions. So some people I know, if you take that red meat or the chicken away from them, they're going to have withdrawal symptoms. No different to a person who is eating, is on drugs or alcohol, for example. That's an addiction, isn't it?
Indeed it is, yes.
So to take a person's plate away with all those lamb chops and kebabs and the tikkas, what will happen to them?
Well, I mean, as I wanted to come back to the, alhamdulillah, the team and under its kind of guidance, yourself and your colleagues, the city retreat. I mean, I think in the city retreat, you have an amazing opportunity to actually demonstrate and show a wholesome, simple lifestyle that is compatible with our traditional values of being Muslim and responsible, and also these modern crises. Now, what better place than city retreat to implement a semi-vegetarian, a simple one meal iftar?
That's a good idea. Why don't you assist us with that, right? And let's put it to a test this Friday. So when we do the Friday and Saturday iftars, I would like to invite you there so you can give people a nasiya. And
I'd love to do that, but on one condition, which is that really we first agree to a menu between ourselves, your team and your colleagues. We have an opportunity to, demonstrate by our own actions and then invite people. If you're willing to agree to that, inshallah, I'm, at your service as ever.
of course,
especially for the
I
community.
am ready for that now. It's this menu that we have to negotiate. So all of you listening out there, take part in this initiative. We're live on radio, 102.5 FM on Ramadan radio. We may have some depressing souls. Their heads will be dropping when we tell them this menu. But this is what's called the withdrawal symptoms, isn't it?
Yes. Sheikh Saab, please put it like that. Look, this is a month of,
Month of blessing.
training, month of blessing, and month of self-management, self-control. So let us start in a positive way by saying we're going to enjoy healthy vegetarian food. Yeah, we're going to help to live an ethical life. So many people are caught, as you know, in their addictions of drugs and other things. This is an opportunity for them to rediscover their freedom and their ability to make good choices.
Of course, you will no doubt assist us with this menu.
Inshallah,
And
yes.
we can get a chef to prepare the menu now. The first thing that comes to my head, what would be healthy to eat, would be like a chana dal.
Don't worry about that. Inshallah, we'll.
No?
You know that we run.
No takers for that?
We run 10-day retreats in Spain, Morocco, and we actually have a 10-day program where we serve healthy vegetarian options. And you'll be amazed how many people actually, after the third day, want to adopt that lifestyle. Are only eating occasionally ethically produced meat.
Well, there you are, guys. Ethically produced meat. The link word there, the key word there was ethically produced meat. Now, there's a message that's come in to us this morning. Salams to all. Please remember, health is wealth. No amount of money will buy you good health. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you this body to look after. If not abuse it. Yes. Never think because you are loaded with money, nothing will happen to you. You can buy the doctors, not the health. Good luck to all. That message came in to us 2 minutes ago, and that is a very good, attentive listener who has passed on his own sentiments. And this morning, we've all had a bit of a reflection. Now, Dr. Slim, I'm going to go back to this particular book that you have written. It's called The Golden Key to Discovering Yourself. So this is from the earliest human history you have recorded right across various cultures and civilizations, right? Uniqueness and individuality of each person. So this book is all about discovery, isn't it? Discovery of one's own self.
Indeed, one's own self, but one's own mizaj or temperament. You see, the other thing which happens that when we give advice to people, we make it blanket usually. That is not the case. Each person has a particular personality or mizaj, as we call it, or temperament, and we need to understand that in terms of food and drinks, one needs to adjust that as well.
Of course, this is every individual on this planet has got that, needs that help to unlock the hidden treasures within themselves, don't they?
Indeed.
Each individual has that hidden treasure, and it's for someone to unlock it, and sometimes you have to seek some help for that.
As you know, in your mentoring work with business builders, young people, you provide that mentoring, and you give a hand in how for them to discover their own talents and skills in terms of health and well-being, and in terms of mental health and emotional health. Each person is different. We need to understand them as a unique individual person, and then we can facilitate their individual growth in that way. And this book is really a window into that knowledge and those resources. And of course, you'll be pleased to know that there is a festival coming up in Bradford. It's called Bradford Literature Festival. It's actually run over 10 days, and I'm very fortunate to have been invited this year to launch the book there, but also to run a workshop. So those of your listeners who are in that part of the world, this is last sort of weekend of June, there'll be the launch of this book and also a workshop around this concept.
Of course, I'd be glad to visit and have a little reconnection over there with some knowledge accumulated with a lot of experience of humanity, as they say, right? So you engage and you learn. So one of the listeners has made a correction there. It was not a he, it was a she. So that was a good correction there.
Right.
So sometimes, we say it as a figure of speech, but our listeners are very, very on the ball.
Mashallah,
We
of
make
course. Yeah.
one little mistake and immediately a message will come up on the screen to correct us. This is what I like. That means there are listeners out there who pay attention. We call it attention to detail. Right? There's a lot of ATDs out there, attention to detail. You're listening to us on Ramadan special on EAVA 102.5 FM. Would you like to have a go to say that? Everybody comes into the studio, they have a go. You are listening to us on Ramadan special on EVA 102.5 FM.
Sorry, what were you asking me
There,
to do?
it's on there.
What you asking me to do?
I'm asking you if you could say that jingle as part of this continuous development of me and you, our relationship, to go to another level.
Yeah, look, Sheikh Saab, our relationship is so deep, mashallah, that, we don't need jingles. I know that for radio you can have a jingle, but...
Okay, we move on with the program now. Sister Maryam here, she's got a question or two to ask you, Dr. Salim Khan, if you could be kind enough to oblige. Of course, Dr. Salim was asking me earlier on why I've got a tape measure on my table here, right? I bring this along because all the guests, I've told them it must be 32 millimeters from the mic, and I check it. And when they step out of line, I just put my hand on the tape measure, then they know that they have to be 32. And this is how we communicate here in the studio. There's a message here from Nazmeen. Nazmeen, we're going to read out your message, but we need your permission first before we do that, right? So that's what we have to do. Yes, my producer will nod. This is how they communicate here in the studio. He nods yes or he nods no, So here's the message here. I'll read that to you. Mariam, if you're kind enough to read that message, you are nearest to it.
Yes, salams. What a brilliant topic. We are trying our best, but this show is very motivating, alhamdulillah. This kind of topic will help so many. Jazakallah, Sheikh. Actually, today I am making Indian veg dish. That's from Nazmeen Leela.
I think, Dr. Salim Khan, you need to come more often and tell everybody what kind of foods they ought to be making this month of Ramadan. It's not all about feasting and filling your stomachs. You will lose the whole essence and purity of this beautiful, blessed month of Ramadan. We need to learn about what we should eat. What we eat is what we are, is what we think.
You are what you eat.
Do my guests in the studio agree with this sentiment that I
Absolutely.
have just expressed? Yes?
Absolutely.
Indeed, yes.
Here, there's another message comes in. As you are discussing health, drugs play a big role in damaging health mentally and physically. Any advice for the brothers who are fighting addiction? My dear esteemed Dr. Salim Khan will answer that question for us, please.
Of course, addiction is a word that we use, and addiction is so prevalent and so common. The best thing would be that it depends on what addiction we're talking about. If the addiction is due to pharmaceutical drugs, then that requires a different kind of help. If the addiction is due to the street drugs, that obviously requires a different set of help. And if the addictions are due to, the junk food, again, requires help. All I can say really is that there are many organizations and people who can help. But the first thing is that, Allah has placed in this month many, many blessings. And one way is that this month is a training opportunity so people can begin to lessen the substances or the drugs or the foods which are addictive and taper it slowly and use prophetic foods which we actually can forward some recipes through your self and share it on the Facebook, which are what we call nowadays nutrient dense. One reason why addictions often happen is that people's bodies don't get the nutrient that it needs, so people go on to junk food and become addicted. So if healthy and wholesome foods are eaten, then really the addiction is easier to deal with. And of course prayer helps. Yeah, prayer helps really with lessening of the addiction, but the food side, and also having colleagues and friends who can support. So I hope that helps.
So here's a very good message. Again, Sister Mariam, she's a special qualified trained message reader we have brought into the studio, so she will read this message, please.
Salam. Finally, someone has suggested a simple iftari meal gathering. So many food establishments offer all-you-can-eat buffet, whereas I would prefer someone offered a simple iftar in sunnah style: soup, bread, yogurt, dates, fruit, etc. What other foods did Prophet Muhammad ﷺ eat? And please elaborate on the retreat you mentioned abroad.
Well, Dr. Salim Khan, we've got one food established for Friday and Saturday iftar at the city retreat, and that is yogurt.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
My friend Harun and Hamza, Inayat, all of the team down there in that wonderful yogurt factory. If you're listening in there, please keep the yogurt ready. And,
Inshallah, yeah, for the weekend meals. Look, one suggestion could be that really we, given that Maryam is mashallah from Morocco, in our retreat, one of the things we do is we teach people basic healthy vegetarian cooking. Many of the recipes are based on the prophetic model. So we have one recipe which is Moroccan harira soup. Moroccan harira soup. I'm happy to go back to the practice and inshallah send you a recipe that we use and we refined it, and you can share it with your readers and listeners. So this will be something. And actually one other thing we could do, inshallah, maybe this Friday or Saturday, we could cook this Moroccan vegetarian harira soup as the main dish for people to have after their iftar or at their iftar, together with some yogurt and together with some homemade bread. And inshallah, we also have another recipe which I'm happy to share, is we use dates, we call it date halwa. Basically what it means, we take the dates and then we put some pistachio or almonds or walnuts in it, and that becomes a dessert. And finally, using homegrown local mint or lemon balm as a tea to end the iftar with.
that's very interesting now. I'm just trying to recollect all of that. Is we start with yogurt, yeah?
No, we start with inshallah, date with pistachio and walnut in it, so people will break their fast with that, and some pure water, no fizzy drinks, yeah? And then they will have the Moroccan soup and with bread, and have mint tea or lemon balm tea. Inshallah, it will be 100% vegetarian, wholesome, a single dish. Again, Sheikh Saab, go back to the Prophet ﷺ. How did they live? They lived a very simple lifestyle. Not because, na'uz billah, they were poor. Allah said to them, "Oh my beloved, if you want, I'll make the mountain range lifestyle in our faith."
Of course, if we don't set the wonderful examples, then our children are going to be poorer for it. And ethical lifestyle is what it's all about, brothers and sisters. A very, very enlightening morning I've had today with Dr. Salim Khan. I hope that he will come here often. And we've got some messages here now. Irfan Chatbar, one bread package from me. And okay, then that's an old message, or is it a fresh one? It's an old one, yeah. So that was related to the charity fundraising. Irfan, that's an old message. If you're still on live with us, then give us a fresh new message, and we'd appreciate that. So now, Sister Mariam, you've got a question or two also here for Dr. Salim Khan, if you would like to proceed.
Oh, I could ask Dr. Salim Khan many questions. I'm fascinated with everything he's said so far. I wanted to ask about the iftar meal that he just talked about. Am I okay to infer, Doctor, that we don't need to eat meat if our breaking our fast is based on the plant-based ingredients that you talked about? As humans, do we need to eat meat?
That's a fascinating question. I mean, my own position is that human beings do need meat occasionally. So really, I suggest that we are actually semi-vegetarian. Humans need meat, and some individuals need a little more meat than others, but the meat has to be produced ethically from animals which are free from cruelty, free from genetic modification, and in an environment which is not destroying our planet and our future, and eaten in moderation occasionally.
And by moderation, could you elaborate a little bit more? Because I just had a question for a huge carnivore that is our producer here, and we had a very heated discussion about eating red meat, and he asked a great question, which is how do you measure how much meat we should be eating, consuming? I go back to how it affects our ecology, how ethical it is and how good it is for the body. So what is your stance on that? How much do you think we should be eating?
Look, again, it's very difficult to generalize, but we can use some rough ideas. For example, as I said earlier, I know from my own work and other people's work that if a person eats meat consecutively for 3 days or more, that individual becomes addicted to meat. So let's go back and ask, the meat which the person needs has to be, first of all, ethical and cruelty-free. So the first question is, are we serving ethical and cruelty-free meat and free from GMOs, fed grains? If it is, then the individual really can have the meat maybe once a week. If they're really desperate and they have particular conditions, maybe once or twice a week. But that's about it. And of course, in winter, in this climate, there is a need for certain kinds of meat, but in summer, there's no need for meat most of the time, because with seasons, Allah provides a different kind of energies and different kind of nourishment for us.
So very interesting one there for all of you out there, that in winter is when your body requires a meat, a protein-based product, right? And if it's ethically, organically farmed, is better, isn't it?
Indeed.
Than it is if it was industrialized, like the chickens that they pump with water and so on. So about red meat, there's a message here. When we talk about meat, we often talk about red meat. What about fish? Fish, of course, is from the poultry family. Yes?
Well, fish is different. Again, if fish is produced ethically and is not fed with the rubbish that most fish are fed, then really fish comes in the same category, that you can eat fish maybe once or twice a week. What we need to also to understand is that this myth that only animal products such as meat, fish and chicken is full of protein is not, from a educational and from a learning point of view. There are many much better sources of protein for human beings than these. Protein comes from plant sources as well, such as, for example, all the dals are very rich in protein, and when they combine with brown rice or healthy rice, that actually becomes almost 100% protein. And there are billions of people who live in this world who never touch meat, and yet they are very healthy. In fact, cross-cultural and international studies show that health of many communities which are mostly and predominantly vegetarian is much better than people who are eating meat.
So when you look at the size of some of the people in the USA, for example, who are predominantly eating meat, red meat, and you compare that with the size of the people maybe in Kerala, in the southern part of India, and so on, you see big disparity.
Indeed, yes.
And so on.
Yeah. And it's fascinating how, some of the recent debate about saving our planet from dying before its time, the international associations are looking at how the indigenous people are capable of preserving the environment far more better and easier. And there is a deep relationship between preserving our natural environments and the lifestyle and eating patterns. So wherever people are predominantly eating foods which are plant-based, they seem to be healthier and they seem to be more respectful of the environment.
And of course, there is a huge push right now about taking care of the environment, and it's not only in the UK but worldwide. We are paying attention to that. Over the years, we have seen that the world is all about pipelines, be it an oil pipeline or a gas pipeline here. Now, my producer here is giving us a signal here that we shall be going for another break. Now, I would like us to continue after that. If you're here, Dr. Slim, or
I have to give my apologies, you
Yeah.
know, because I have something else to attend to. Inshallah, some other time.
So
and we're going to work on this vegetarian menu, inshallah, for one or two iftars.
So we will be at the end of the program today, and very shortly, but definitely on Friday and Saturday this week, that Moroccan Herrera soup is going to be on the menu at the city retreat, and we're going to give this a try. On Friday and Saturday, some good ethical food. So we say, what after radio? After radio, the kind of things we talk about, we implement them in our lives. Are you with me or are you against me, Mariam?
Definitely with you.
Jazakallah khair. My producer, are you with me or you're against me? He's against me. So we'll carry on tomorrow. Jazakallah khair. Cut. He's cut us.
Okay, thank you.